The title of my project is A Space to Share, a cookbook filled with recipes and stories of international women. Hello, my name is Abby August, and I'm a geography student at Virginia Tech with minors in civic agriculture and food systems, as well as women and gender studies. I was able to complete my project through working with my community partner Jenny Schwenke of the YMCA. For over 30 years, the YMCA's International Women's Mornings have acted as an opportunity for international women living in the Blacksburg area to build community, participate in different weekly activities, and most importantly, eat. I decided that I wanted to make a cookbook using the women of the International Women's Mornings. I wanted the cookbook to be filled with recipes that the women shared with me, and I wanted each recipe to be paired with a narrative that gives a deeper look into each woman's life and food culture. The goal of this project was to give these women a space to talk about themselves and their experiences through speaking about personal recipes. Cooking isn't usually considered valuable work, as it often goes unpaid and is expected of women, example, mothers and wives. But the ability to cook is a special skill that is a result of the unique lived experience of the cook. Having the product of my project being a cookbook created a tangible representation of the unique experiences surrounding the food culture of women from different parts of the world. Further, while storytelling is empowering in itself, the product of a physical cookbook has allowed women to share cultural food experiences with others and have a final physical product that they are part of and proud of. Over the course of this semester, a 12-week period, I regularly attended the YMCA International Women's Mornings to become a familiar face and hopefully eventually become part of their community. In order to collect the material I needed for my cookbook, I planned and ran one of the weekly programs. I brought a flyer to the morning the previous week to give to the women, asking them to bring in a recipe that is meaningful to them in some way the next week. I didn't ask them to prepare the dish because I didn't want lack of international ingredients to restrict them. On the day of the program, around 15 women showed up with recipes in hand. In the first part of my program, I gave them all a sheet that I wanted them to draw on, with different ideas of what they could draw. This was just to get the women thinking about themselves and have images they created to use for the cover of the cookbook. The next part was the actual food sharing. I started by sharing my own recipe, and then one by one each woman shared. Everyone interpreted the activity a little bit differently, so some women went in depth, instructing us how to actually make the recipes, while others focused on more of the story aspect. Either way, I got a bunch of recipes and at least a little narrative from each woman, and some women even expressed to me that they enjoyed the process. I considered running the program my greatest accomplishment, as I successfully facilitated a program while simultaneously getting the content of my cookbook. The following week, I transcribed the recipes and what the women shared through listening to my recordings of the program and brought them into the Women's Morning to ensure that the women felt accurately represented. I also wanted some more information from some of them, so I spoke to some of the women individually. After that, I had to photocopy all the materials, compile them in a book format, add images, add recipes, print, and bind. I created a physical copy for each woman who participated. This project embodies the civic agriculture and food systems cornerstone of collaborative teaching and experiential learning by sharing local food knowledges. Another cornerstone, food security and sovereignty, is addressed by knowing, representing, and documenting each international woman's cultural food traditions. This project could be continued through future civic agriculture and food system students adding on to the cookbook or creating their own new cookbook using a different pool of women or with a different focus. I have learned that planning a project is truly a process that is always changing, and you often have to change your expectations along with it. I thought that I would walk in each week and get really close with the different women, and through that schedule interviews with them, and then get their recipes and eventually their life stories. In reality, that just wasn't how it worked, and it's definitely not how human connection works. So I ended up having to change my process and my assumptions about what my project would look like. Even as I was running my Women's Morning program, I had to let go of what I thought the program was going to look like because all the women interpreted the activity differently. But that's okay. Thanks!